Thank you so much for attending. So many people. I'm really grateful that you can find the time on a Friday afternoon to come and talk. I'm British. I know it's difficult for you to understand. You think I'm Russian, but I'm not. I'm British. And because I'm British, I take the English language to be normal. I can speak it. I was speaking it from a very young age. But I understand from the research that I've done that quite a high percentage of the people need to speak English if they want to improve their career. We did some research, and it's something between 87 to 92% of the people who want to learn English to improve their career. They want to be able to communicate internationally to advance their opportunities within the company that they're working for, or to enable them to apply for jobs in companies which are international and take with them an ability to say, I'm B1 plus in English or I'm B2 in English, and give them an opportunity to be employed. English is a de facto language, so I'm led to believe to about 53 countries throughout the world. I know there are other languages, there are Spanish, there's French, and obviously Chinese, where a lot of people speak those languages. But I think it's the geographical locations where English is spoken that sets the English language aside from the other languages. So unfortunately, English is the language of international communication in all areas, politics, science, media, the arts, and it's often the language of entertainment. You know, doesn't matter where you're from, you can remember songs which are sung by your favorite artist and they're sung in English, whether it's Elvis Presley or whether it's some modern group. Having good command of the English language helps you to give you those opportunities in life. Now, I know in Belarus, I meet so many people. It's embarrassing if you like, who've been in language schools and they say, I can read English, but I can't speak. I can read English, but I can't speak. Now that's a tragedy. It's a tragedy somewhere along the line which has enabled people to have a standard, a qualification, but they can't speak the language. And unfortunately, when you want to communicate with a business party, when you want to understand what somebody is requiring of your company, there's a very good chance that you'll have to use English in those communications. And if you're listening to what the client wants and you can't respond and ask questions, then there's every likelihood that you might not be able to pass on the correct information to the next person you need to talk to within your company to deliver a project. It's a sad situation, but there is a solution. The solution is to find a way to understand how to speak my language. It can't be it can't be that difficult. You know, I learned it when I was about 3 years of age. But here's where I see a big problem. Too often, academic English is become the important aspect of the learning. Grammar, 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 grammar. Oh, and tenses, to the point where it becomes boring. I've listened to HR directors of IT companies who have been told they need employees to learn English. And I clearly hear them say that they start off with a class of 10, maybe 12 people, enthusiastic to learn English. And after 4 to 5 weeks, that class of 10 is down to 6. After 2 months, it can be down to 2, maybe 3, and not always every week attendance. And that's because the lessons can be quite boring. It would be boring for me to keep learning grammar, grammar, grammar. You have to be able to communicate. Everybody, when they learn a language, they want to be able to talk. When I learned Spanish, I learned to speak. When I learned German, I learned to speak. It's not all about grammar. As a native speaker, and I listen to a number of people who are basic or are native Russian speakers speaking English, and they make mistakes, but I understand what they're trying to say. And I can have no problem with understanding that they made a grammatical error or they've made a tenses error, but I understand what they're saying. I urge you to speak. Speak with confidence, even if you make a mistake. Speak. And I'm not a gambler. You don't get me gambling on horses or any other event. I'm not and never have been a gambler. But you, as a native Russian speakers, when you're speaking to your friends and family and colleagues in work, I think there's every chance, and I'm prepared to put 10 Belarusian rubles on the table here now. There's a very good chance that you do not speak perfect grammatical Russian when you're speaking to friends and family. So my challenge to you is, why do you beat yourself up trying to be perfect at English grammar when it's not really necessary? Yes, you have to be as good as you can get, but don't beat yourself up. Get to the level where you feel comfortable, and the grammar will become quite natural to you. You will learn as you go along how to use the grammar. I'm a native speaker. I live with a teacher of English. Never a week goes by when I don't have somebody say, "Oh, you can't say that because you can't use this without that." And I'm saying, "Did you understand what I said?" Yes, that's communication. That is fluency. Did you understand what I said? Yes, that's fluency. I'm more interested in the idea that you're trying to tell me about. I'm more interested in the content of what you're talking about than being grammatically correct. Now, I've been very fortunate to go to many countries in the world. I've met some very important people, luckily. I've done some quite big contracts with these people. I can assure you, never ever have I had somebody say, "Well, yeah, we like your product and we like what you're talking about, and we're worried because your proposal was not grammatically perfect, so we can't give you the order." That's never going to happen. Come on. Grammar is important, but it's not omni-important. More important to have confidence to speak. You'll get that from the teachers at online class. They are equipped with the information, the understanding that you want to be able to communicate in the world, whether it's pharmaceutical industry, whether it's the IT industry, or whether it's banking or insurance, whatever particular interests you have, whatever business involvement you have, when you speak in English with confidence, the other person will definitely get it. So how do we improve that? One of the things we do, and twice this morning before I come here, I had sessions with people who have native speaker lessons. Native speaker lessons to complement their academic learning, if you like. IT people, pharmaceutical people, people who are involved in business, people who are involved with a variety of different commercial activities. The confidence of speaking, listening to somebody who is a native speaker. And I didn't realize it, but it's true. And I'm telling you now, people get more value listening to a native speaker than sometimes trying to speak like a native speaker. And you will never speak without an accent. I can promise you that is unlikely. But the good thing is your accent isn't that critical. Pronunciation is quite clear, important. But there are so many different accents in the United Kingdom. Uh, I lived in Ireland for a while, and one of the parts of Ireland is Belfast. And in Belfast, they have an extremely difficult accent. And even as a native speaker, the first time I went to Belfast, I struggled to understand what people were telling me in English because of their accent, and not only the accent, but the way they spoke, the expressions they used. That's another thing, expressions. We don't use "it's raining cats and dogs." I just use that as an example. I'm sure you'll understand that "raining cats and dogs" is yesterday's comment. But Mickey Mouse is an expression we use quite frequently. "It's got legs" is an expression we use quite frequently. "Spot on" is an expression we use quite frequently. Now, I will share with you some of these expressions that we really use as opposed to some of the ones which are in the textbooks. And I think sometimes it's not necessarily for you to be able to use them, but for you to understand them when somebody says to you, "It's a no-brainer," or "It's spot on," or "It's got legs." Some of the expressions, you can maybe work them out for yourself. Some of them, I'm sure you can't. I could talk to somebody today about "spot on," and they were looking for something. Is it spot on? If you translate it literally, you will never understand it. Spot on means it's perfect. It means that was exactly what we were looking at. Your presentation, you presented exactly what we were looking for. Everything you put into your presentation, it ticked all of the boxes we were looking to have. It was spot on. And those are the things you will learn from a native speaker. It won't be about grammar. I will correct you if I think you need some little help on grammar, but it won't be the major part of the conversation. I ask you, do you want to be able to speak my language, or do you want to be able to read my language? Do you want to go to the movie and watch the film up and down with the subtitles, and then you miss who did it because you're reading the subtitle? Speaking is the most important part of the social system. It's not grammar, it's not senses. They are important, but speaking, I'll tell you a story. I went to France for the first time when I was 18. When I came back, I was embarrassed because I didn't know enough French to be able to communicate. So I started to learn French on my own with a company called Linguaphone, where they give you a tape and books. It was very hard. I couldn't keep up with it. After about a month, 2 months, I couldn't give myself that energy to do it 3 or 4 times a week. You need the motivation of somebody, a teacher, or somebody learning with you to be able to learn the language. I sold the Linguaphone for less money than I paid for it. But I learned German by talking to German people. I worked for a German company. I learned German by learning to speak to people and understanding what they said. I learned enough German to be able to communicate in meetings in Dortmund, the head office of the company I work for. Confident enough to be able to listen and understand what the comment is, and confident to be able to make a comment about the subject. Unfortunately for you, English is the de facto language of the world. It's not because the number of people who speak English, it's just the number of countries where English is the first language. And if not the first language, it's their second language. It's the geographical spread that makes English the most important language, not Chinese. Although there's a lot of Chinese, they tell me. I've been there. I saw a lot of them. I want your career to grow. I want you to develop, to put more bread on the table for your family, to enable your family to have better holidays, to enable you to feel more confident at your communication. I'm here to help, and others in the company as well. Native speaker can give you so much more than grammar, grammar, grammar. It will enable you to become confident in communicating. It'll enable you to have an ability to listen clearly to what somebody is saying. It's very critical, especially IT. When you're listening to somebody and they say, we want this, we want that, we want this, we want that. And then as a project manager, you're taking that information to give to a developer. And in the meantime, what you thought the client wanted and you transmitted to the developer perhaps isn't what the client is looking for. The developer spends time creating something, comes back to the project manager, says, here it is. Project manager speaks to the client, says, da-da, here it is. And the guy says, that's not what I was looking for. You didn't listen. Clarity of listening is as important as clarity of speaking. Any questions? No? Okay. That's as much as I can do. I can't speak of anything more to say. Other than to
No
say
questions.
it's personal. You have to be personal. There is no one fits all solution. There are no one book that is going to take you from one location to another because we don't all wear the same size shoes. Some of us want lace-ups, some of us want slip-ons, some of us want brown, some of us want black, some of us want different styles. There is no one fits all solution. It needs teachers who understand what you need, listen to why you need it, and create the lesson to suit your need. That's what we do. Any other questions? No?
No?
Yep.
I think we're done.
Okay.